Hello, welcome to Business Notes. I'm your host, Diane Bogino. We're coming to you from Scalini's Italian Restaurant on Cobb Parkway tonight. And our guest this evening is Doug Stevenson. Doug is a former professional actor, now professional speaker and speaker's coach. He's given keynote speeches, trainings, and story theater retreats from San Diego to Singapore and from Las Vegas to London. Doug is the author of the book, Doug Stevenson's Story Theater Method, formerly known as Never Be Boring Again, and the creator of the 21-step How to Write and Deliver a Dynamite Speech System. Doug, thank you for being with us tonight.
My pleasure.
Doug, I've often heard you talk and mention an emotional trigger. I want to know what you mean by that, and wouldn't solid content be enough?
Well, you have probably been in a presentation, and just about everybody listening to this has probably been in a presentation where somebody was doing a whole heck of a lot of content. The content was good, it was interesting, and it was really hard to stay attentive because the speaker was not engaging at all. They just kept like going through it, and I've often said it's not enough to just deliver content, because if you want to just deliver content, get a job at a pizza place and just deliver pizza, because our job as presenters is to make it engaging and interesting. And when I talk about emotional triggers, I go back to my days in acting, where as an actor you approach a role emotionally as well as saying the words. It's like you have to flesh it out, you have to become a human being, and we all feel as well as think.
So in reading your book, I see that it's almost entirely devoted to what you call strategic storytelling. Using the story theater method, what do you mean exactly by strategic storytelling?
Well, when I got into storytelling in business and being a motivational keynote speaker, you would always choose a story based on the point that you want to make. So in other words, it's a strategically chosen story to do something in specific. Make a specific point, have a specific effect, sell a product, sell a service, sell an idea. So when I say strategic storytelling, all I'm saying is, don't think that you can just get up in front of an audience and think, well, I need to change the energy, I'll just tell a story. And then you tell a story and there's really not a relevant point, and everybody's thinking, why did you just tell that story? That was a waste of my time. My time is valuable. Use my time well. So strategic storytelling is about understanding, first we have to know what's the point that I want to make, what is the story that matches that point, and then craft the story towards that end result.
What's the difference between the story theater method and traditional storytelling?
Well, the story theater method is exactly what it sounds like. There's theater involved in it. There's acting, there's comedy, there are skills that I bring to the business world from the world of acting that cause people to be engaged in the listener. Because when you go to a movie, they can keep you attentive for 2.5 or 3 hours without even making a point. So a movie can be 2.5 hours long, there's no content, it's just entertaining, it's engaging, but we stay attentive. Well, there are things that actors understand, which is the emotional aspect, the ability to use silence, the ability to use body language. I often say, body is language. We don't have to be talking to be speaking, to be communicating, such as in a close-up in a movie. There's no language going on in a close-up in a movie, but we, the audience, are reading the thoughts, feeling the emotions. And so story theater is a process, it's a methodology, it's actually storytelling technology for a business professional to choose a story, craft a story, and present a story in a way that uses a little subtle acting, some story crafting, the 9 steps of story structure, and message branding, using what I call a phrase that pays. So it's a combination of ingredients.
What if someone listening to this interview tonight didn't have a very interesting life? How do they go about finding a compelling story that somebody would be interested in listening to?
The power of the story does not lie in the event. You don't have to climb Mount Everest. You don't have to survive breast cancer. You don't have to lose a child to drugs. You don't have to have anything traumatic or powerful to have happened. One of my most powerful stories is simply about going off on a trip from Colorado Springs to Kansas City to give a speech, having flights got delayed like crazy, missing the last shuttle bus that would get me there on time, taking a look around and realizing I need to do something quick. There was a limousine sitting there. I got a ride in the limousine at the last minute and I made it there. And I make the point, don't look for the shuttle, look for the limo. But if you look at what is the event of the story, it's an ordinary trip across country where flights get delayed. It's no big deal. It's a problem in planning and execution. So it's not some big earth-shattering, oh my gosh. No, it's no big deal. So what I would say to everyone is, what you look for in your life are moments. Moments where something interesting happened and you learned a lesson. That's all there is to it.
How important are stories in delivering a dynamite speech?
Stories are essential because stories are the way that we communicate all day long. If you ask somebody, how are you doing, what do? They tell you a story. So we don't even have to teach the audience how to learn through stories because we communicate through stories all the time. Stories are the way that we find and explain the meaning in our lives. It's how we figure things out. It's how I communicate what's going on in my life to you. Mm-hmm. So when we tell a story to an audience, they're already primed to learn through story and to enjoy story. So the minute you say once upon a time, speakers will tell you this. The minute I start into a story, the entire body language of the group, the entire audience shifts. It's as if they go, oh. And they become little kids and they become receptive, which is the opposite of what happens with dense content where they struggle. So if you want to make it easy on them to learn, here's an analogy. Have you ever had a fussy dog or a fussy cat that didn't want to take their pill? What do? You take the pill and you stick it in a piece of cheese. Am I right? So you hide the content, the difficult, thick, dense content, inside something easy. That's what story does.
What's the difference between dynamite speech and a speech that people just use based on PowerPoint slides?
Well, a dynamite speech is what it sounds like. It's dynamite. It's exciting. It's explosive. It's surprising. It's unpredictable. It's enjoyable. It's entertaining. Rather than, okay, good morning, everybody. How you doing? Click. On my first slide, I'd like to talk to you about, click, da-da-da-da-da-da, click. And I have to read my content off the presentation slides because I don't actually know what my content is because I didn't take any time to actually think about it as something that needs to be engaging. All I'm doing is throwing a bunch of stuff together and throwing it out there and saying, you figure out how to deal with this. Now, a dynamite speech is like a piece of theater. It is conceptualized. It is designed so that it will have a beginning, a middle, and end. It will be exciting and engaging, and the content will get delivered. So once again, I go back to theater. I go back to Shakespeare. I go back to the best movies that you've ever seen. There's a design, and that's what a dynamite speech is all about. And the dynamite speech system, the 21 steps, teaches someone in business how does a motivational speaker go about designing a speech that you would pay $10,000 or $20,000 for. Well, you're a VP of sales. Shouldn't you know how to do that? Shouldn't you be that powerful with your people? Do you want to motivate them or you just want to talk at them? Do you want to increase productivity by 50%? Create a dynamite speech, not just a bunch of PowerPoint slides.
We've been talking with Doug Stevenson. He and his wife, Deborah, have a studio in Colorado Springs, Colorado, and it's called the, what's the
Peak View Studio, because Pikes Peak is right out the back window.
Oh, how nice. And Doug, if our viewers want to get a hold of you or get enrolled in your story theater, how can they do that?
Well, the easiest way is to go to www.storytelling-in-business.com. Storytelling-in-business.com. Or you can call us at 719-573-6195. I'd love to work with you. I'd love to help you with your stories or your speeches so that you can be a more effective executive or salesperson or presenter at any level.
Great. Doug, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to visit us tonight.
My pleasure to be in Georgia.
And thank you for watching Business Notes. This is your host, Diane Bogino.